You too. It's been a while. You know how I do. You know how I roll. I don't ever do a show until I got something to bitch about. I'm actually not going to bitch tonight. I'm not mad at nobody. Things are going pretty well, and but I just want to make some observations, some general observations about some things that I just happen to notice, and that I think are kind of either quirky, weird, funny, whatever you want to call it. Welcome to my show. This is OGMarv Whispers. I'm OGMarv, the host of the show, and the person who can kind of give you a roadmap for life. Because pretty much I've had a lot of experiences. I've had actually an amazing life. To be when I sit back and look back on it, um, I started off on my own, believe it or not, on a rainy night in Oakland. I remember when I left my mom, when I decided I just had enough. You know, um, Women don't like to admit this, but the average, and I'm not, anytime I'm talking about anything, no matter what it is, pretty much, I'm not dealing in specifics because nothing is ever all. There's always exceptions to just about everything in life. Um, so when I'm speaking on stuff, I'm talking in general terms and and obviously from my perspective. Um, I've been fortunate enough to have, like I said, a pretty amazing life. Um, all things being equal, uh, I feel like I'm 68 now, and this is my first show since I turned 68 a month ago. So I've been around the block at least 34 times. I'm happening up to 68. You get it. At any rate, I've seen a lot in my 68 years. I've experienced a lot. I actually feel very fortunate and blessed to make it this far. And I've had some devastating experiences in life, and some times in life where I felt very fortunate to be doing whatever it was I was doing at that time. I've been lucky enough to drive a bus in Oakland for damn near 10 years. I'm actually looking into that because I've been thinking lately a lot about the time that I worked for AC Transit, and I'm kind of thinking that I actually had the 10 years in that I need to have in order to qualify for pension. Um, they would have me believe that I only had 9 years and 11 months. How is, I'm trying to figure out how it's possible because I think, I'll be the first to admit, I'm not good at remembering dates. I'm not. But I do kind of remember the time of the year it was. So I remember that, when I was going from San Quentin, I used to be a correctional officer at San Quentin. And I'll be honest, I hated that job. That was the worst goddamn experience because I don't care if you're in a prison as an inmate or as a cook, an outside paid cook. Well, actually, they have some though. Because for the most part, at prisons, the inmates do the cooking and stuff. But they also do have free people there to oversee the inmates, make sure they confiscating knives and try to take it back to the cell. Because that's the last thing you want as a correctional officer. You don't want no goddamn prisoner taking a fucking steak knife back to the cell, okay? Because that same steak knife might cost you your life. So you do have to pay attention to that, and believe me, I did. But I was fortunate enough to and smart enough to, not just leave it there. While I was working at San Quentin, I also had applied at AC Transit, and I was able to drive buses for, according to them, 9 years and 11 months. I am starting to look into that because I actually think that I had the 10 years, and I do. I think that AC Transit has pulled a fast one on me because companies do that shit. They don't want to pay you pension, and so like consequently, now that I don't work anymore, um, I just get my Social Security. Thank God I worked at San Quentin, and I worked at uh, well, that's state of California, and I worked at Wells Fargo Bank, and I worked for the Oakland A's. And at the A's, I was also a shop steward in the union. So, I've had some very unique experiences. I mean, like as a baseball fan, for instance, there's nothing like being on the field with your team, the team you love, that you grew up loving. The Oakland A's are my team. I love them. I always will. But, baseball got to me by way of my mother and dad. And ironically, my dad was a Dodger fan. My mom loved the Giants. And we came from Philadelphia. If you ask me, I actually believe that they moved out here to California because the Giants and the Giants and Dodgers moved from New York to LA and San Francisco. So I kind of think in the back of their mind, they were thinking, "Hey, we'll be out there with baseball teams that we like." And my dad being a Dodger fan and us living in Northern California wasn't exactly a smart move on his part because back in those days, rivalry was real, and things meant something back in those days. It's not like now. A lot of you people that probably even watch my show, especially those of you that are 30 and under, have no idea what real rivalry is about. The Giants and Dodgers were absolute enemies. Um, so were the Raiders and 49ers, which I don't understand that rivalry because they're both in different, conferences in their respective leagues. And so, the only way, used to be a time when the only way they could ever meet was if they met in the Super Bowl. Well, thanks to money and greed, that's been changed. So now the Raiders and, well, hell, the Raiders ain't even here no more. But I still love them, as you can see. And the rivalry between the Raiders and 49ers is nowhere near what it was back in those days. And neither is the rivalry between the Giants and Dodgers. It's not the same. Back in the day, like my dad used to go to Candlestick Park, and he's surrounded by Giant fans, and he's talking shit about the Giants, and everybody's booing him. And he's in Candlestick Park. I thought that was kind of dumb. And little side note, those my family and my close friends, you all know, my father committed suicide. I found him, but when I first went over to, because I actually went over to his house because I wanted to get my birth certificate. Well, I wasn't born in this country, so I don't have his birth certificate. I have naturalization papers. I was born in Germany, and there's another story behind that, but I'll get into that on another day. But the point is, it wasn't smart for my father to go over there to Candlestick Park and be rooting for the Dodgers back in those days because, he would get into arguments and damn near fights with Giant fans. When he did commit suicide and I found him, my first thought was because I've seen all the blood when I opened the door because I rang the bell but he didn't answer. So I tried the door and it was open, or unlocked. So I went in and I'm going, and so I first opened the door. I can see in the kitchen, and there's blood splatter all over the wall, on the ceiling. So I figured he must have went to the ball game and somebody whooped his ass. That's what I was thinking because I didn't I left home when I was like 17 and decided I was going to be on my own. I told my mom, I said, 'cause she was over the top on a lot of things. Don't get me wrong, I love my mother. I think she did an okay job of raising me. I love the man that I turned out to be. Um, but her tactics were fucked up. No other way to put it. The way she treated me and dealt with me growing up was not loving. I found myself constantly searching for that love that I didn't get from my mom because, I think that I know my mother fucked up or my father, and I was not his biological child. I was her biological child. However, I was raised to believe that I was adopted. That story is simply not true. Didn't make sense. And I was married to a girl named Debbie, which is my daughter Tiffany's mother. And we were married during the years of roots. So Debbie decided she wanted to trace my roots and find out where I came from and how I got here. Trail always ended. She made attempts a couple of times to, do the ancestry check. And she eventually run into a dead end. The trail died. I was born in 1953. Didn't have computers back then. Well, computers came along maybe about 7 or 8 years later. But because my dad, believe it or not, was a computer programmer, and the computers were really big machines that they were kind of like the size of a pony. And so, him being in the service had a whole lot of um, those machines in a warehouse, and I used to love it. I think that's where I first developed my love for computers and gadgets, high tech things like phones, stuff along those lines. Um, I used to love the words of machines. Those machines make this noise and print out these cards and be like, and I thought that was so cool. And so, my father would take me to work with him sometime and give me about 1,000 of them, those data cards to play with. So, and I found plenty of things to do with them as a kid. I was about 7 or 8 years old. I still remember this. Everybody has a right, and parents have an obligation to be honest with a child about where it comes from or where it came from. My mother was not honest, and I never got the opportunity or the ball or the nerves, I guess, to jam her up and make her tell me the truth. Because, yeah, I probably was born in Germany. In fact, I know I was born in Germany. Because what they did was, my mother got my dad to ask for a transfer. We used the service and asked for a transfer to go to Germany and be stationed there. Which, of course, he did it because my father was kind of a wimp. My mother just browbeat him and had her wrapped around her little finger, which actually, had a lot of effect on me because I used to listen to them argue when I was a kid and after I went to bed, and I would lay in my bed rooting for my dad, wanting him to stand up, be a man, stand to her, and tell her to shut the fuck up. Because my father was the breadwinner in our house. My father was a 22-year Army career man, and when he got out of the service, he worked another 10, 12 years for the post office as a mailman. My mother was crippled and had polio. She didn't drive. or go to work or do any of those things. Which, in my opinion, even as a kid, and and I'm not saying this is right, wrong, or indifferent, because even as a man now, and I don't mean to offend the female folk in my family or any female folk that may be watching or or may watch later. I don't mean to be offensive or offend you in any way. I have granddaughters. I have daughters, but and I love them with all of my heart, everything I got. I'm just like that with my kids. I love my children, regardless of who the mother is. I love them children. I love them kids, and I love my grandchildren. I got three grandchildren by my first daughter, and they are amazing, amazing grandchildren. My oldest granddaughter has a son who is the same age as my daughter, Shamari, and they're both 13 years old. Which that's definitely an imbalance, of the family unit. But be that as it may, because I remember changing diapers with my daughter Annette. I remember her changing my granddaughter Tila's diaper while I was changing my son Marcus and Joseph. Because they're all about the same age. So I had Annette and I had no, not Annette and I. Carolyn and I had Annette. That's weird. Okay, I smoke weed. Okay, I'm 68. I have senior moment. Anyway, Carolyn and I were the parents of Annette. We were both, 16 years old, and I was actually living with her family in Oakland. Her father took me under his wing after I left my parents. Well, my parents had broke up, so I was living with my mom. But I just had enough of my mom's bullshit because, like I was trying to say earlier, and again, no offense to the women folk in my family or any women folk that are watching this. I'm not trying to be offensive or mean spirited or anything like that. But women and men are different because our purposes and how we deal with life is dealt with on different levels. As a man, I deal with life with logic. If it's logical, I do it. If it's not logical, I don't do it. Females, they use some logic, but the majority of their thinking process and their decisions that they make are based on emotions. As a man, I'm more emotional than the average man that I know. Okay, I cry at movies. I cry at graduations. Everybody in my family knows this. So when we have graduation ceremonies or somebody gets married or whatever, everybody knows, bring some tissue, because grandpa is going to be in tears. That's how I roll. That's what I do. I'm very emotional and I care about things, especially when it comes to my kids and my grandchildren and my great grand. I have two great grandchildren now. My great grandson Jaden is an amazing human being, and he's an amazing kid. And I can tell you right now, remember this name, Jaden Crane. You're going to see him on TV playing either football or baseball. I guarantee. The boy has God-given gifts when it comes to sports. A lot of people can't play sports because they don't have the gift. He does. And I recognize. I used to coach Little League baseball, and I know talent when I see it. I've been a baseball fan for years. I know pretty much all the aspects of baseball. The only thing about baseball I don't know is how to throw the ball and make it do shit. My son, Marcelonis, was born with that gift. And right now, he should be, by all rights, playing in the major leagues. Instead, he's out there working a 9 to 5 or 12, whatever shift it is he's working. And just doing, average work. By all rights, that boy should be on a major league team and should have been there 8 or 9 years by now. That was what I envisioned for him, but I ran into some tough times and had to give him back to his mom. And I told her, because I had all three of the sons I had with Tanya, I had all three of them playing ball. The oldest one and the baby, that would be Marcelonis and Marquis. They actually had some real skills. Marcellus, I love you with all my heart, same as I do anybody else. But Marcellus wasn't that good at sports. Everybody's just not good at sports. It's like everybody's not good at a lot of things. None of us are good at everything. Most of us are good at least something. Marcelonis had gifts and could throw that ball and make it do things, which amazed me. I still don't understand the mechanics of pitching. I don't know, understand how you can hold a ball a certain way and throw it and it'll do a certain thing. For some reason, my brain doesn't connect well on that topic. I played ball and I was pretty good, but I never pitched. I mostly played the outfield and sometimes a lot of first base. But I knew enough about baseball to teach it. And so I became a little league manager, and I managed Marcelonis' team, and I managed Marcellus' team because Marcelonis moved up. I love that. That's a time in my life that was really, really great. One of the greatest times, because as a baseball fan, and my love for the game, I was able to pass it on to those children that I was coaching, and it was fun. And I was hoping that at some point, like right now, I was hoping to be able to be looking at some of the kids that I actually coach play in the major leagues. But as far as I know, none of them has made it. It's not easy, to make the team. Depending on what your sport is, basketball is because it only, a basketball team, I think only consists of 12 players per team. That doesn't make, so the NBA doesn't have a big payroll in terms of the numbers of employees as, say, the NFL or Major League Baseball. But, the other side of that is if you play NFL football, your professional life expectancy is about 5 years, if that. Baseball is about 7, if that. I don't know what it is for basketball because I don't particularly care for it. And hockey is about 5 to 6. Black people aren't known particularly for liking hockey, but I'm one of the few brothers of a different color that does like hockey. I follow the Sharks. I follow the Philadelphia Flyers. I follow Philadelphia teams because that's where I'm from, and I follow the Bay Area teams because that's where I grew up. I still have family in Philadelphia. My brother is 80. Wait, I'm 68. My brother is 87 years old, and he's still living. And I do try to go see him as often as I can. He lives in Philadelphia. And, he's getting up there. So since he is getting up there, to be honest with you, I'm a little nervous about it because, I'm dreading getting that phone call that I have to go home and attend the funeral. That's not a fun thing to do. But I'm not looking forward to it at all. I had two brothers, and I'll be honest, Donald was my favorite. Donald and I are both cancers. My birthday's on the 3rd of July, his is on the 4th. So we're a lot alike. But Donald was a little more brazen and brash than I am. I prefer to come with a little decorum and dignity. My brother Donald, not so much. I actually miss him. I think about him a lot all the time still. He's passed away a long time ago. I deal with death a little differently than most people because, believe it or not, I don't really cry at funerals. I cry at weddings. I cry at graduations. I cry at, one of my family members getting a really good job. Like when my daughter, Tiffany, she graduated from USC. And I actually think that she thinks that I didn't want to pay for her college. That's nothing could be further from the truth. I want all my kids and grandchildren to go to college and graduate because in these days and times, the idea of not going to college is really not on the table. It's not an option. College is a necessity because even if you want to be a fry cook at McDonald's, you have to have some kind of degree in culinary. Otherwise, the only thing you're going to do at McDonald's is be a janitor or the person who takes your money and takes your order. If you want to be a fry cook, you have to have a degree in culinary. And I'll tell you something else. I took culinary in college after I was, I think, 40 because I thought that culinary was cooking. Well, culinary is cooking, but it's not just cooking. There's a lot of other fucked up shit that goes with culinary that you really don't want to deal with. But I didn't find it out until I was already, enrolled in school. Um, I went to Laney College and took culinary there, and I was doing that because I needed an income because I had filed for my Social Security because I got hurt on the job, and I needed to get Social Security money as a way of living. So I went to Laney to earn money because I got all the grants and loans a person could get, and I lived off that. Grants you don't have to pay back. I still have student loans that I do have to pay back, but I don't now have to pay it back because there's things I can do and papers I can file because I'm a senior. Same thing with back child support. Now I haven't done it yet, and I don't know why. I guess I'm lazy. I just don't want to deal with it for whatever reason. But there's paperwork I could file and not pay half my Social Security to arrearage in child support. Why I haven't done it, I don't know. I guess I need my mom to come back here and push me to do it because I'm one of the people you kind of do have to push me to do something that I'm really not so keen on doing. Which is, I know it sounds stupid. It sounds stupid to me as I'm saying it, but because I actually could use the money. I pay half of whatever I earn to various counties for child support. I had 17 kids, and three. Oh, okay. I had 17 children with 12 moms in 4 different counties. So sometimes I get overwhelmed when I think about, what all it would take for me to do what I need to do to put an end to that. I think I actually am working with Contra Costa County to get it to stop. And luckily, the worker that I dealt with or deal with there took the initiative to, begin the process themselves. I'm glad they did that because, I do pay too much money back on child support because, you have to know that even though I pay child support, I love my children. I of course paid more than child support. I bought things, and did things with my kids and for my kids just simply because I love them out the, goodness of my heart. But again, going back to Tiffany and the USC thing, yeah, I wanted her to go to USC. I mean, I wanted her to go to college, but it didn't have to be USC. There are other colleges that are just as good. They may not be as prestigious as USC, but the quality of education is as good. And wouldn't have hurt it wouldn't have hurt Tiffany to have taken her butt to a lesser known college and pay a lesser amount in tuitions and things. So, she thinks that I resented having to pay for her, and that's not what it was. I resented having to pay that particular college for her to go there. Because what her mother did was I had some land that was I inherited with my two brothers. Debbie, wheelchair and all, ran her ass out to Virginia and took a lien out on my property or my share of property that I owned with my brothers. So that when I sold my property, and signed my signature so that my brothers could get their money, I received nothing. And I'm gonna say something about this, and I don't care if Tiffany sees this and gets pissed off or whatever. I love my daughter, don't get me wrong. I don't resent the fact that I paid for her education. I do resent the fact that her mother felt like it was okay for her to go and take from me against my will. Yeah, I wanted my kids to go to college. I want them all to go to college. I want my grandchildren to go to college. I want my great grandchildren to go to college too. Because as I said earlier, going to college in these days and time is not an option. It's a necessity. You have to go to college to get any kind of decent job in this country or any other one. If you ain't got some paperwork that says, I know this, even if you get hired, you're not going to get hired at the rate that it's worth. That's a fact of life. That's how business works. So there used to be a time when a person couldn't file a lien on inherited property because inherited property means that somebody in your family wanted you to have whatever that was that you inherited. So for somebody to go and fuck with a person's inheritance, in my opinion, is a fucked up thing to do. You have no right to take a person's stuff that their family gave them. You have a right to take what the person earned. Like I never had a problem with paying child support. I never, I've actually been in the social, not social. I've been in the Department of Human Services and have talked to people, guys, who would badmouth the mom for him being on child support. The way child support works is like this: the mom doesn't really have a say in whether or not the district attorney files a lien or an order for child support. It's not up to her. The moment she accepts public funds, the district attorney automatically files to get those funds back. Nothing is free in the world. The world's not free. And I'll venture to say that sooner or later, one day, somebody's going to discover a way to make you pay for the air you breathe. They just ain't figured it out yet. But I can visualize people running around with canisters on their fucking back with a meter on it that measures how much air they breathe, and they'll be charged for it. Because even though the Bible says you have a right to be here simply by the fact that you were born, somebody's going to find a way to exploit that and make a killing. It's like, think about it. We pay for water, bottled water. Look at TV. Don't you pay a cable bill? You pay a cable bill, yet you still are watching commercials. The whole idea that I remember when cable first came out, and the whole selling point to cable or into getting cable in your home was that this was supposed to be ad free. You didn't have to watch commercials because you're already paying for it. Why are we watching commercials still? There's a lot about life in America that America doesn't want you to know or pay attention to. I went into service at 17 years old, because I thought that if my father could be in the service, and if he was a wet noodle, if he could do it, anybody can do it. So I signed up and went in the Army at 17. Yeah, anybody can do it. But what differentiates one man from another is what his level of threshold of being able to accept orders is. My threshold of being able to accept orders has never been that good. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it maybe a 4. For me, one of the things I hate most in this world, besides ignorant niggas, is being told what to do. That irritates me like nobody's business. If you tell me to take a left, I'll take a right just because you told me to take a left. It's my nature. It's who I am. I'm going to do the opposite of whatever the fuck you want me to do, unless I see the value in it or it benefits me too in some way. It's a human trait. I'm human. I'm not a robot. I'm not a machine. I detest being ordered to do something. I refuse to do that. I will never surrender to being told what to do to nobody. And the older I've gotten, the less I'm willing to do that, even more so. Like at this point in my life, I don't work. I don't have to work. And I don't give a fucking rat's ass what nobody thinks. Do you pay my bills? I don't think so. Do you feed me? I don't think so. So what in the fuck do I give a fuck what you think for? Why would I do that? What's my motivation to do that? None. The reason I even do these shows, I don't get paid for this. I'm not a monetized. My website is not a monetized website. I don't make a damn dime for doing this. What I do this for is because I want to put it out there to black folks in particular. Even though I'm half white and half black, I identify more with my black side than I do my with my. I'm sorry, hold on a minute. I identify more with my black side than I do my white side, even though I'm sure I have equal amount of both blood. I was raised black. I wasn't raised white. My mother is the same color I am, so she also is mixed. And my dad, we don't know who he is because my mother was cheating on the guy I know as my father. The same way Shanika cheated on me with in our relationship. That's why we're not together today. And I don't make no bones about it that when she was pregnant with Marshawn, I was sweating bullets like a motherfucker, okay? Real talk. Because I wasn't sure that he was my baby. Luckily, I'm light enough and my genes are strong enough that when I have children, like if you look at my kids on pictures I do have on Facebook or wherever, you'll notice that they all, except two, and one of those two, I don't actually think is mine either, but I just never said nothing, and I'm not going to. My daughter Marlisa that I have with her mother, Lisa. That's the reason why her name is Marlisa. Get it? Lisa. That's Marvin and Lisa. She's a little dark. She's darker than me. Not as dark as her mom, but she's darker than me. But I know her mother. I know her mother didn't cheat, and I never thought for a minute that she was not my kid. My son Marshawn, on the other hand, I wasn't sure he was my kid when he was in Sneaker's belly. I prayed to God he was, but and I'm gonna tell you right now, I was in the delivery room when his little ass was born, and it wasn't until I seen his little head, his little pink head come out of there, I knew right then that's my child. But until that moment, I wasn't sure, and I was scared. Scary thing to be with a woman who is loosey goosey and has no problem with fucking more than one man at a time. Normally, you know, throughout history, women didn't do that. It's becoming more prevalent as time goes on because we as a society are more permissive and accepting of that behavior. I'm not. I think a woman's a motherfucking piece of shit when she goes out there. You know, she's living with you, you eating her pussy and fucking her, and she's letting some other nigga eat her pussy and fuck her too. How many times have I eaten Sneaker's pussy right after Brian got through sticking his dick in there? That's a scary thought, but it's a reality, and I have to face that. I'm sure that it's happened more than once. It's not a pleasant thought. Luckily, though, Marshawn is my son. He looks like me. He and I are really close. We're really close. I've been with him since day one. And the idea, like when Sneak and I first broke up, I was really devastated at the fact that here this bitch is, she's the one out there fucking up and being a fucking whore. I'm at home raising the kids, and now, for a brief moment there, I was without them. Why in the fuck should I be without them? I ain't the one that was out there fucking 50 motherfucking niggas. I never cheated on Sneak, not once, during the whole entire 12 years I was with her. I never stuck my dick in no other woman unless we were together. Because I'll be honest, we did shit together. Hell yeah, we did. I used to would not accept living with a woman who wasn't down with that program. Because that's what I wanted to do. I was a bus driver and I made damn good money and I could get that done easily. Money talks, bullshit walks. Always has, always will. So, you can always find somebody that's willing to do what you want them to do. There's always somebody out there who thinks the way you think. And so, me being a man and having certain, urges, I don't like cheating. To be honest with you, I've never cheated on anybody in my life. I would not be comfortable doing that. There's no way in the hell I could go out there and I'm with you, but I'm sleeping with this other bitch and you don't know about it. I've never been that person. Because even when I was a bus driver, the last thing I wanted was to have some bitch show up on my route while I'm at work, I open the door and she puts her foot in the door, stands in the doorway, and say, "You motherfucker, I didn't know that you had all these women. If I'd known you was like that, I would never fuck you." That's the last thing I ever wanted to hear any woman say to me. So I had a policy of just being honest from the very beginning and give that woman the option of dealing with me in the way that in who I am. Or there's a door, it's open, you can walk out. I've never done anything against anybody's will. And I've never done anything dirty behind anybody's back. I can't fuck you and fuck you. Okay? There's two different ways of fucking a person. And the only way I would fuck you was the right way. Okay, I've been rambling on for about 40 something minutes here. I'm gonna wrap this up. If you were watching my show, I thank you. I appreciate it. I don't charge nothing. I don't expect to be paid. I like to share the wisdom that I've gained with people that I know and love freely. I wish somebody had told me these things and talked to me the way I'm talking to you. I grew up in a time when sex was a taboo, don't talk about it thing. Unfortunately, my father, or the only father that I knew or know, was not able to perform. My mother used to talk about him and that all the time when they got into arguments, which I think is totally wrong. Why do I need to know that she thinks he has a pencil dick? Everybody's not born with an anaconda, okay? There's not a line that you'll go and get into when you're born. Here's the short fat dick, here's the short medium dick, here's the uncut dick, and here's the cut dick, and here's the anaconda. It doesn't work that way. You don't pick what dick you get. You get whatever the fuck dick you're born with. And, now in terms of what you do with it, or like in my case, and okay, granddaughter, close your ears if you don't want to hear this. I eat pussy like it's nobody's business, like it's going out of style, okay? I'm known for that. I have a reputation for that. And I'll tell you right now, when you're good at what you do, word gets out quick. That's why a lot of people believe that, you don't ever tell another man how good your woman's pussy is, because then he gonna want something. Works the same way the other way around. Some woman's bragging about how good you suck that pussy. She's gonna try to see if she can get it too. It's a human thing. We have to learn as a society to just accept some stuff. Stop sweeping it under the rug. Stop acting like it doesn't exist. And fucking be honest. Motherfucker, how hard is it to just say, yeah, I like to eat pussy. And I'm damn good at it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't believe in taking another man's woman. I don't do that. But I had the ability to do it if I wanted to. Thank God I wasn't the kind of person. I'm a good man. I'm a decent man. I very much love me some Marvin. Doesn't make no difference to me what none of you think. What matters to me is what I think and what I know. On that note, I'm going to end the show. If you watched it, I thank you. I appreciate it. You ain't got to pay me. The advice and the wisdom was free. I enjoyed, hopefully, having an effect on somebody, a positive effect. Because you can get your agenda done without being a dirty motherfucker. This is OGMarv. You've been watching OGMarv Whispers. Thank you and good night.